do you support, I mean, I understand, did you support that provision that removing the illegal immigrants?
I will sign it into law.
No, did you support it during the negotiations?
Do I support it? I'm going to sign the bill.
But there's negotiations. So I guess what I'm
We're very
hearing, though,
good
is you
at it.
didn't
That's why we have a
support-
balanced budget.
You didn't
And so I negotiated
support-
with the Republicans. Do I think it makes sense? Look, you know, Congresswoman, that federal law requires us to provide health care to people when they show up in emergency rooms. That's why the hospitals have uncompensated care.
Reclaiming my time, because you're trying to change the subject, because I asked you very specifically, during negotiations, did you support the provision to eliminate illegal immigrants from health care?
It's a question that makes no sense. I support
right.
it at the end of the
All
day
right.
in a negotiation, which I
Thank
agreed to
you,
and
thank
will
you,
sign it.
thank you, Governor. I mean, you were here in Congress. You understand what reclaiming your time means. Yeah, you understand that.
What's up, Patriots? Welcome back to Right View Nation, where we speak the truth loud, clear, and unapologetically. If you love America, stand for our Constitution, and are done with liberal lies and open border lunacy, hit that subscribe button right now and give this video a big thumbs up. Let's dive into what just went down in D.C., because folks, you're not going to believe what Minnesota's liberal governor just got grilled on. Governor Tim Walz, yes, the same Democrat who's been running Minnesota into the ground, just got a serious wake-up call on Capitol Hill, and let me tell you, he didn't like it one bit. So here's the setup.
Minnesota.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and I just want to say thank you so much for allowing me the opportunity to be waved on today, Mr. Chair. And I will just say that oversight is far livelier than Ways and Means. But, you know, and Governor Walz, I want to say I thank you for being here, because I know you've been very, very busy running around the country, giving speeches and having town halls in Republican
balanced
districts. Yeah, well, you were running around, though, I know, while they were trying to negotiate that.
I'm a
So it's my
multitasker.
time, Mr. Governor Walz, it's my time. But there has been a lot of discussion and questions about policies that provide benefits for illegal aliens. And I understand, Governor, that you're going to say Minnesota is not a sanctuary state per se because the legislation was not passed. And just a yes or no question, Ranking Member Lynch had mentioned that there was a bill that was introduced for a sanctuary state this year in the Minnesota legislature. Would you have signed that bill? Did you support that bill?
Oh, thousands of bills introduced, hypothetical. We don't have it. I operate under the same law you operated under.
Okay. Thank you, Governor Walz.
Under Lieutenant Governor.
But Governor Walz, we all know that you probably had you probably had some opinion on that bill. You're just choosing not to answer because the answer was probably yes. You would have signed that bill if it had passed. So, but like Mr. Emmer, Mr. Crane, I think Mr. McGuire, a whole bunch of them mentioned the policies that Minnesota has. So yes, I understand, not a sanctuary state per se, but the policies are certainly making it into, I think, as I recall, they mentioned driver's license for all, they mentioned the free tuition for illegal immigrants, they mentioned the Medicaid benefits, you know, so you in essence create a sanctuary state. You know,
You know the
not
sheriff
formally.
supported the driver's license bill. The hospitals and others.
Governor Walz, I am certainly aware of that. I served many years in the legislature. I still keep an eye. I have many friends there. I understand that. But in essence, they are creating a sanctuary state in practice. And so we are going to talk a little bit about the legislature, because just earlier this week, both chambers of the Minnesota legislature passed HF 1. And you're probably familiar with it. I don't know if you've signed it yet or not, but it repeals Minnesota care eligibility for illegal immigrants, adults ages 18 and older. And with that recent repeal of eligibility for illegal immigrants, a policy that initially, I mean, it was after my time, was enacted in your time, 2023 under your administration, now being reversed with those budget negotiations. I was just wondering, first of all, do you know how many illegal immigrants were covered and are currently covered in Minnesota with Medicaid?
I don't have the exact number. It's not Medicaid. It's state that does this through Minnesota Care.
Okay, well, but you still don't know how many. So
I don't
all
have
of
it
those
from my
negotiations you were deeply involved in earlier that you mentioned you were deeply involved in, that number never came up?
I don't have it in front of me right now.
Okay.
So we can certainly get it to you.
I would love it. I would love to have that. But do you support, I mean, I understand, did you support that provision that removing the illegal immigrants?
I will sign it into law.
No, did you support it during the negotiations?
Do I support it? I'm going to sign the bill.
But there's negotiations. So I guess what I'm
We're
hearing,
very
though,
good
is
at
you
it. That's why we have a
didn't support-
balanced budget.
You didn't
And so I
support-
negotiated with the Republicans. Do I think it makes sense? Look, you know, Congresswoman, that federal law requires us to provide health care to people when they show up in emergency rooms. That's why the hospitals have uncompensated care.
Reclaiming my time, because you're trying to change the subject, because I asked you very specifically, during negotiations, did you support the provision to eliminate illegal immigrants from healthcare?
It's a question that makes no sense. I support
right.
it at the end of the
All
day
right.
in a negotiation, which I
Thank
agree
you,
to and
thank
will
you,
sign it.
thank you, Governor. I mean, you were here in Congress. You understand what reclaiming your time means. Yeah, you understand that. But I guess I will move on because, you know, there was concerns about SNAP provisions being cut and all kinds of, but you supported that. I mean, you supported that over the over government, over the health care to illegal immigrants. I guess I'm confused about, because you had other cuts you had to make. So what did you, all of the things that you guys have been talking about with law enforcement, education, school breakfast and lunch, did you cut that during the budget negotiations this year? Because my understanding is you had quite a deficit.
We don't. We have a budget surplus, as you know, Congresswoman.
Well, long-term, but you had to make cuts this year.
We had a balanced budget. It's something we can help you all with. We have a balanced budget we agreed on. We left $1.9 billion on the bottom line for this biennium, and even
But
on
your
the second
structural
biennium,
budget, you
structural
had to make
balance
cuts.
is reduced by 50%.
You had to make cuts. Or no, you didn't make any cuts.
We balanced a budget. We moved and we invested.
All right,
That's what we
Governor, I'm
do.
going to move on because I have one more thing and I'm running out of time because I really do want to talk about, you had mentioned civility, or someone had mentioned civility. There was a discussion earlier about civility, but Mr. Fallon had mentioned how you had said, you know, you want to kick Republican ass. You've mentioned bullying. There's another one where you're going to bully the SHIT out of President Trump. There's all kinds of things. And then you had a discussion about civility. And I'm embarrassed because you say you're an educator and you're the governor of my state that I'm supposed to be proud of, and this is the kind of garbage, the example you're setting for our children, that you're telling people to bully each other. And I try very hard not to say those kinds of things because I understand that it is meaningful. When you hold a position like this, you should not be saying things like that.
But you support the president's language?
Hey, gentlelady's
the
expired.
president is not in front of me right now, Governor.
Gentlelady's time's
I
expired.
have
He should be.
Chair recognizes the
Stop.
ranking member
Kind of
for
garbage.
unanimous consent.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have here a statement from the distinguished Representative Betty McCollum from Minnesota that notes that Minnesota's crime is declining, 30-year low, companies are hiring. It's one of
The governor was invited to testify, and a Republican congresswoman absolutely tore into him. And rightfully so. She called out something we've all been screaming about. This two-faced policy where Democrats pretend they don't support illegal immigration, while giving illegals more benefits than most hard-working American citizens get. Governor Walz tried to dance around the questions like he was on Dancing with the Stars, but patriots, we saw right through it. They asked him plain and simple, would you have signed a sanctuary state bill if it passed? And guess what? He refused to answer directly. Why? Because the answer was yes. Of course he would. He just didn't have the political guts to admit it in front of America. Classic Democrat move, play word games, dodge accountability, and push an agenda behind closed doors. Let me break it down for you. Minnesota may not be officially labeled a sanctuary state, but in practice, it's becoming one. You've got policies giving driver's licenses to illegals, free tuition, Medicaid benefits, state-funded programs that American families can barely afford, now being handed out to people who broke our laws to get here. And Walz has the audacity to say it's not a sanctuary state? Give me a break. The left always plays this game, redefining words, hiding behind technicalities, and gaslighting the American people while flooding our towns with illegals. They want to fund their voter base of the future, folks, plain and simple. Then the Congresswoman really brought the fire, asking Governor Walz about Minnesota Care, the state-run Medicaid program. Let's get this straight. Minnesota had been giving health benefits to illegal immigrants under a policy that started under Walz's watch in 2023. Now, because of pressure and budget reality, they had to reverse that provision. And when asked how many illegals were actually covered, the governor had no idea. None. Are you kidding me? You're the sitting governor. You're making deals, cutting budgets, negotiating programs, and you can't even say how many people your policy helped? Either you're lying, or you're dangerously unqualified. And then he tried to pull a slick move, saying he'll sign the bill to repeal illegal coverage, but refusing to admit whether he supported it during the negotiations. That's what we call political cowardice. He wouldn't even own up to a decision that affects millions of tax dollars, hospitals, and yes, American citizens waiting for care. Now get this, the Congresswoman also pressed him on whether he made any budget cuts to keep the state afloat. Because remember, the left wants you to think there's endless money growing on trees in the socialist garden. Walz claims there was no deficit. He says Minnesota had a budget surplus. But if that's true, why did they cut anything at all? Why was illegal immigrant health care the first thing to go? Here's the reality, patriots. The state was forced to make cuts, and the Democrats finally had to choose between handouts for illegals and basic public services. And let me tell you, they only cut it because they were backed into a political corner. The governor tried to make it sound like he was doing some brilliant bipartisan negotiating. And oh, Governor, you got cornered. You didn't lead, you folded. Now here's the kicker, the moment that had my blood boiling. The Congresswoman called him out for his past remarks. Remember when Walz said he was going to kick Republican ass? Or when he bragged about wanting to bully Trump? Yeah, he said that. And now he wants to lecture America about civility? Are you freaking kidding me? Democrats talk a big game about respect and decency, but the moment they don't get their way, they resort to bullying, name-calling, and radical threats. And yet, we get called extremists for simply standing up for the Constitution? Give me a break. And this man is an educator? What kind of message are we sending our kids? That you can curse and bully your political opponents if you wear a suit and smile on MSNBC. That's not leadership. That's Democrat thuggery dressed up in a press release. Look, patriots, this hearing pulled back the curtain on everything that's wrong with Democrat leadership. They say they care about safety, but they won't enforce immigration law. They say they care about budgets, but they push us into insolvency. They say they want civility, but they spew hate and division when cameras are off. The people of Minnesota, and all Americans, deserve better than this. We deserve leaders who tell the truth, who put Americans first, who don't fold under pressure and lie to save face. Walz isn't leading. He's following the woke mob. And that's why we need to stand up now, loud and proud, and take our country back. If you're tired of this insanity, subscribe right now to Right View Nation. Hit that like button. Drop a comment below telling us what you think about Governor Walz and his support for illegal benefits. Let's make our voices heard before it's too late. This is Right View Nation, where patriots rise and truth always wins. God bless you. God bless our border. And God bless the United States of America.